relax, and enjoy the Black Married and Debt Free podcast.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Marcus
and
Shira, and we're here with Deidre, also known as Slay This Debt.
Yes.
And
hey, y'all.
We're just going to be, having some good conversations and just talking about finance. This is something we all love. All three of us love to do. So we're just going to just have some fun and have some good conversations. So.
Awesome. I'm really excited to be here to talk to y'all. Y'all are such an inspiration. I'm just so proud of all the amazing things that y'all are doing in the community and just in your life. The real estate company that y'all just started, the podcast. I'm just so proud of y'all and excited. I have just pressing questions. I know that the audience probably wants to know. So let's just jump into it. Yeah. Let's talk about your real estate investments and your strategy for retirement, early retirement. Are y'all trying to retire early, or let's talk about that a little bit?
The goal is definitely to retire early. I know I want, to be done with work.
That is awesome.
Yeah, but we looked into, Shira presented the real estate idea, just doing some research on her own. She presented to me when we were still trying to pay off our debts. And, we were looking at people that were saying, hey, they were going 100% real estate and buying rental properties and holding them and, having the renter pay them off for them and then using that as the source of their retirement. So I really liked that. I was like, that sounds good. So I kind of went into it after she gave me that idea. I was like, well, let's just do that. But Shira, being as wise as she is, well, let's just do that some, and then let's just get in the market as well. So that's currently our strategy.
Yeah, that's certainly our strategy to, have money in the market and have our rental properties. And so, as Marcus shared, we started doing our research while we were in the process of getting out of debt. And so when we finally got out of debt, we kind of already had a plan in place as to how we would move forward with acquiring our first property.
Awesome. So it's amazing that y'all were already thinking about that, even though y'all were in debt. And by the way, if y'all are new to their story, they paid off their mortgage, which is amazing. And it was a mortgage in California. Is that correct?
Yeah. We live in California. We live in Northern California. We have a condo. And so we were able to purchase it kind of when the real estate market was tanking. It was going down. So we got it at a pretty good price, and we felt that we were able to just take it on and pay it off.
That was awesome. So where did that concept come from? What made y'all decide hey, I think we should pay off this house?
Yeah. So as we've shared, in other videos, we kind of hit a tough financial spot where we had more than we had money, and we just were in this really difficult place financially. And it was in that tough spot that we really started to devise a plan as to what are we going to do. And a part of that plan was I would re-enter the workforce. Marcus ended up finding a new job that paid a little bit more money. He started tapping into his talents and started using his abilities to do some side hustles to make some more money. And when we started to make more money, we knew that we needed to be wiser, and we needed to make better decisions. And so when I returned to the workforce, we had this extra income, and we started to talk about what we were going to do with it. It's are we going to buy a car? Are we going to move into a bigger house? But it was, let's take on this debt and let's just knock it out. And so that's just kind of how the conversation started. Right. Deidre, can you share a little bit about your journey to debt freedom and just talk about all of the wonderful things that you have going on?
Oh my goodness. Well, for me, we kind of stumbled upon our debt-free journey. I got out of the military. I was pregnant with our fourth child. It was a complete surprise. And I remember going to check to see how much daycare was going to be. They wanted $1,600. And I was like, okay, no, this is too much. So I got out of the military and our behaviors didn't change. So I was still going to Starbucks and all that good stuff. And long story short, I ended up kind of stumbling upon Dave Ramsey. We ended up getting out of debt, and we did that by my husband pretty much increased his income, or our income increased. And we ended up paying off over $80,000 in 24 months. And it was a lot of side hustles. My husband worked security for the Super Bowl and for the Masters, which is a popular golf tournament in Augusta, Georgia. He did a lot of security jobs at like colleges. And then I started my YouTube channel. I also did a few things on Fiverr and just did little things here and there, but it all added up. And so in the end, we ended up paying off over $80,000. And then after that, it just kind of, I don't know, everything kind of snowballed, but the opposite way. So we ended up purchasing a house and we got a good deal on it. My husband ended up getting orders, so we ended up moving. And within 7 days, we had a renter, which was just amazing. So we purchased that house, the property value increased, and it just catapulted our financial journey. And additionally, my husband did get promoted. So he went from enlisted to officer. And then, of course, my YouTube channel picked up a little bit. So it's just been snowballing ever since. We've officially been debt-free for 2 years now. And when I look back at the things that we were able to accomplish, it's just amazing. But I tell people all the time that it's not all about just getting out of debt or living so frugal, like, you know, just penny pinching here and there. You have to, at some point, you have to increase your income. So, yeah.
I think that's good too. That, like Shira said, with us, the increase came first. We knew we needed to increase. That was the first thing we realized. And then after that, that's when we said, okay, but let's be smart with it. So it is a kind of you need both of those.
Yo, what's going on, everybody? This is Marcus, and I wanted to pause really quickly to tell you a little bit about Audible. Audible is a leading seller and producer of spoken audio entertainment, and it's great for having your books on the go. I love Audible because it's right on your phone, and you can play your favorite audiobooks wherever you are. Audible is giving our listeners an exclusive 30-day free trial just by clicking the link in our description. And guess what? They're going to throw in 2 free audiobooks. You don't want to miss that, y'all. Check it out. Now back to the show.
I had a question for you, one that gets posed to us quite often, or every now and again it'll come up. And they'll ask, you know, what should a person do when they want to get better with their money, but, you know, they're having a hard time convincing their spouse or having the conversations about that with their spouse? How would you answer that? Or how would you handle that?
Well, the first thing that I normally tell people, because this comes up a lot, like on my platform too, but first of all, you can't like go into the conversation with negativity, like positive vibes only. And then to set the example, like just start doing what you can do. So if you're a home economist or a stay-at-home mom, you know, start trying to prepare your meals, start trying to cut back and all that kind of stuff. And then actually do the research to understand the numbers, understand where you are, so that when you do sit down to have the conversation with them, you have your facts in front of you. So just being prepared. Also setting the mood for the conversation. Like you don't want to have a conversation with your spouse when he's in a bad mood, or I keep saying he, I mean, I guess it could be opposite ways, but like just knowing when to have the conversation and having the right setting and having your heart in the right place. Now, if you have this conversation with them and they're just not having it, they just don't, you know, they don't want to hear about it or whatever, you can do some other things. You can maybe, you know, ask if y'all can listen to podcasts together. Just start small. Listen to financial podcasts. Let's listen to an audiobook together. Let's read a book together. If they're not hearing that, they don't they don't want to do that. You might need to have a different conversation about, you know, your wants and needs. Or you might even, I also talk about having just a dream meeting. Like, let's dream together. What is the end goal? Where do you want to be 10 years from now? What do you want to do when you retire? And then once you start to have that dream meeting, okay, now let's work backwards, but slowly. Like, you don't want to start saying like, okay, well, you need to be on a budget. Like, you know, let's ease into this. Now, you said you want to retire at 45. Did you know it's possible to retire at 40? This is how we can do this. So those are my little tips.
Those are great.
I do tell people that for some relationships, there are other issues going on, And those issues need to be handled before you can move into a conversation about finances.
Right.
And oftentimes counseling might be an option. You know, I hate to bring that up, but I mean, it's the reality.
Right.
That's good. And just speaking to a lot of what you were saying, I think with us, it started with an idea from Shire. Like I always like to say, she kind of put the bug in my ear. And although I wasn't like super against it, you know, I kind of didn't want to hear it at first, you know, like, oh, okay, well, I know we need to get things together, but she handled it well because she would just like, you know, drop little hints and we didn't press it. And then after a while, you start wanting to do what's best. You know, if your spouse feels that this is something important, then a light bulb will start to go off in your head and you're like, you know what? Yeah. You know, so I think a lot of that advice really does work. Like,
Absolutely.
I'm a testament to that. So
yeah,
I think that's really
awesome. It's interesting because I was the one who kind of got my husband on board. I'm blessed that he really didn't care either way. Like, and it's just because of the way he grew up. He was born in Trinidad, raised in Trinidad, and had like, you know, very humble beginnings. But after I showed him the numbers and he just saw how excited I was about it and like how passionate I was about it, then he just got on board. So I was lucky. I was blessed. But yes, for some people, it's not that way. So for some people, the husband might be okay with getting on board about like getting out of debt. But then when you start talking about like investing or paying off the mortgage, that's when the issues start to come up. Right. So.
Yeah, I mean, me and Shire, we're pretty lockstep, you know, in most of our finance.
Yeah.
But we still, you know, have to have conversations. Oh, well, I thought we could do it this way, and no, I mean, so it's always there's always conversations going on.
Yeah. So my brain is always churning. So we'll talk about something. We'll be like, look, this is the plan, and then I think I got a better plan. So I'm like, look, I got another idea. Right. But, you know, thankfully, Marcus, he tolerates me. And if it makes sense, then, you know, he's usually on board. And I think that's a good thing because, you know, when you're married, you want to be concerned about the things that your spouse is concerned with and vice versa, you know. So it has worked. Yeah. And our communication around finances have improved tremendously. Yeah. And so one of the first things that I did after getting out of debt was I went back to school. And I went through a program, a coaching program. So I completed a certification through UC Davis, which is a prominent university here in California. And so we've used some of the skills that I've acquired through that program to really come together to help other couples. And so we've coached couples in the area of finances. And so that's been something that's been really special for us to be able to help other couples. Right. And so,
it's been cool.
I was going to ask y'all, because I know that y'all have 2 kids, and I was going to ask you about like your college savings plan. I don't know if that's too personal, or like, what are your thoughts on like contributing to like their 529s or their college plans when you have like your own financial goals that you're trying to reach and things like that? Or like, what is your plan for that?
Yeah, so it's a line item kind of in our spending plan. So they have monies that are set aside for them, you know, every month. It's not an astronomical amount, but it's going to help. Yeah. It's going to grow and it's going to help. So that is something that's important to us and that we're doing.
I've heard some conflicting things, well, especially those who are like closer to retirement or a little older. And they're like, well, should I put away for my kid? Or
if they're behind.
Yeah, if they're behind, you know, in their savings. Should I put away for my kid, or should I just really focus on mine? Luckily, like, we're still fairly young. So we said, we definitely want to start contributing to 529 and, you know,
right.
Something for the kids.
And that's important because when I went to college, I didn't have anything saved for me, and anything would have helped. I mean, a book or something. Like, let me start
a Roman noodles, something.
No, I have great parents. I do. But you know, we want to be able to help our children. We're not just going to throw them out to the wolves. You know, that's not what we're planning on doing. And you know, so do you have any particular thoughts on that?
Well, we do save. We plan on we have a different strategy because my husband and I I'm prior service, my husband's active duty. So there'll be like some grants and stuff like that. We do want them to have some skin in the game. Yes. However, it's kind of working out to where they probably won't have to pay as long as they go to a local college. So, or like a state school. But we are contributing, and some days I feel like we should probably contribute more. And some days I'm like, if we continue to invest the way that we're doing and, get the real estate thing going, then it'll probably cash flow it. Right. So I don't know. I just feel super blessed to be in a situation or a position to where I'm even having this conversation, because I don't think my parents, and like you, I have amazing parents. I don't think it was even on their radar.
Right. We always say, like, growing up, we never talked about money. The only thing I heard about money from my parents was, hey, did you transfer X amount of dollars? Yeah, I did. That's it. Like, it was never hey guys, this is how you do money. This is what, how to invest. Nothing like that. And of course, we don't learn it in school, Yeah. We're taking some type of class focused on that. Right. So yeah, it's great to have the conversation. And like, I'm sure you do this with your kids, but I would like to hear more. But with us, we always just, it's an open conversation. Money is a conversation we have in our house. It's not something we try to, whisper and, so. Right. Hopefully, as our kids grow, they're still young, but as they grow, we'll be able to sit down with them and really give them some financial literacy.
Right. And they're still young. So we have a 4-year-old daughter and our son is 5. But one thing that we're starting to talk to them about now is that money is earned. And so we're finding ways for them to start to earn money. So like, they have a journal, they can write in their journal and make a picture, and they might get, we will give them, monetary, allowance, very small, for them to put into their piggy bank so that they can start to purchase their own things. And so we're hoping to just continue to instill that in them at a young age.
So with your children, do you guys like sit them down, talk money, or how do you guys handle your kids?
Yeah, it's interesting because my oldest, she was the spoiled one. So she got all the things when myself and my husband was working. And so for her, it has been a struggle because she's in middle school now. So she wants all the things, and she has grandparents that buy her everything. And, so that's a whole nother thing. So, I said all that to say, my kids right now, I'm working more with them being able to manage their money and to really, I don't want to say live frugally, but for example, like, they know what a clearance sticker is. They know I can give them a grocery list, like my daughter's a grocery list, and go to Aldi, they'll get all the right stuff. Or even if we were to go to like a local grocery store, they'll get all the right stuff. They know how to look for the best prices. So it's really important for me, for my kids to know how to manage their money so that when I leave them an inheritance, they know how to not only manage their money, not squander it, but make it grow so that we can have generational wealth. You know what I'm saying? So that's that. And part of that is, making sure that they get a college degree debt-free if that's what they decide to do. That's a whole nother topic. But so yeah. As far as allowance and like commissions, as Dave Ramsey calls it, we do some allowance, but it's like you have to do something like over the top because you live in this house too. Right. So you're going to do your chores because that's just part of being, one team, one fight. But if you want to earn money, like, okay, here's what you can do. You can do something over and beyond. And I've tried giving them allowance, and I would like find money just on the floor, in the washing machine. It's like they didn't work hard enough for it, Right. So once they started working for it, I noticed I was seeing less of it. Yeah. And it also affected the way they made their decisions, like their purchase decisions. Like they would save up for something, and then when it came time to purchase that item, like skates or a toy, because they worked so hard for the money, by the time it was time to buy it, they didn't really want it. So I feel like I'm on to something.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that, managing money and then learning how to like live frugally and like bargain shop and things like that. That's our big thing in the house right now.
Those are great life skills.
Yeah.
Life skills.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Marcus, and I wanted to tell you a little bit about our sponsor for today's episode, Amazon Prime. With Amazon Prime, members receive benefits which include free fast shipping for eligible purchases, streaming of movies, TV shows, and music. I know. You want to try it out. Well, we got something just for you. Click the link in our description and get a 30-day free trial. And you can cancel at any time, but I think you're going to love it. So check it out. Back to the show.
So I had just a couple more questions, Deidre. One, what are your thoughts on paying off debt as opposed to saving for retirement? Or do you feel like it's okay to do one and not the other? You think it's okay to pay off debt, hold off retirement, or do you recommend individuals have a little skin in the game when it comes to saving for retirement, but then also pursue debt? Like, what's your thoughts on that?
Okay, so I feel like my advice is a little different, but I believe that if your company is offering a match, you should definitely do not leave any money on the table. Whatever you do, don't leave any money on the table. I do feel like it depends on the situation because, like, for example, my husband, he's grandfathered into that pension plan, so we didn't have that pressure to, continue to save for retirement because once he does 20 years, he'll get paid like for the rest of his life. So I feel like if you're military, and you're grandfathered into that pension plan, then maybe just focus on paying debt. But if you're not, I do feel like you should have some skin in the game. I don't know. Like, that's just my opinion. I don't feel like anyone should stop contributing to retirement to get out of debt. I just don't think so. I would rather see them work to increase their income than to just like maintain their regular income and not contribute to retirement.
Right. Yeah, that's great advice, and that's pretty much what I
was going to ask you what y'all thought.
Yeah, that is what we say. That at least to contribute, to your match. I think there's some factors that folks have to consider. And one thing that they need to consider is how long is it going to take you to get out of debt? If it's going to take a year, if it's going to take you 2 years, then maybe. But if it's going to take you 10 years, 15 years, like you don't want to miss out on the growth that your money will experience. And when you put your retirement savings on pause for such a long time, when you finally get around to saving for retirement, you have to save much more, because of all the time that you've lost. So that's, kind of like the time cost of money. And one thing that I notice is that some people say, well, save 15% of your check. Well, that advice is really based on a person working for 40 years. So if you're saving for 40 years at that 15% savings rate, then you'll have a nice cushion. But if you don't plan to work for 40 years, you may need to save more than 15%. So that's why, I certainly recommend people be cautious before they hear one person's advice and put all their marbles, put everything based on what someone said. And it's so important that we educate ourselves and that we run the numbers and that we figure out, what's best for us, what's best for our unique situation. So, yes. So we, for us, it's similar. So I work at a job that offers a pension. So you're in the pension, they're going to take what they need for that pension benefit. And while we were getting out of debt, Marcus, he was contributing to his match because we did not want to leave that money on the table. You can't go back and get it later. So you have to, so I think that's great. And we certainly agree with what you've said. So thank you for that.
Yeah, it all depends. I mean, like giving money advice, it really depends on what the person wants to do. So that's why it's so important for them to identify what their values are and like what they ultimately want out of their life. And then everything should line up with that. And like you said, 15%, I mean, it really depends on how much their income is. And then what if like they're only contributing 15%, but squandering the rest when they could really accelerate their retirement? Like, you're absolutely right, Shira.
So, Deidre, what would you tell your 20-year-old self now that you have acquired more knowledge in finance or just life in general? What would you go back and tell the 20-year-old Deidre?
Ooh, that is a good one. Oh, wow. Definitely invest.
Yes.
Stop wasting money on clothes and shoes, like all the things to try to look rich or impress people or whatever they're wearing in the videos. Like that stuff is going to end up at the Goodwill. So invest. I think definitely invest and just to slow down because I was pretty, I don't want to say wild, but like I had no clue when I was 20. Like, what in the world? Like, when I look back on my early 20s, like, what was I doing? Absolutely nothing. I was making a lot of money. I was making like $80,000. To me, for me to be young making that money, I squandered it. And so I would definitely tell myself to save.
Yeah.
Well, I saved, but I didn't invest. So.
Right.
Yeah.
What about you, Shire? I never asked you that. What would you tell 20-year-old Shire?
To invest. We were engaged at 20.
Were we?
Yeah.
Yeah, we were.
So why didn't you no, I'm just
Yeah. What about you, Marcus?
Right. Some of the same,
Yeah.
invest. Like I'm seeing the importance of that. Like, man, if I would have just started, doing some of the things that I do now, if I would have started those in my early 20s, I would be, in a
much
even
further.
better position.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. But hindsight is 20/20.
Right.
You get the knowledge when you get it, and you know better, you do better.
Yeah.
Is that true? That's true.
Yeah, I think so. And it's so funny because the flip question to that is, what are you doing today that your older self will thank you for?
Yes.
I like
And
that.
I think about that often, like, what am I doing today? Like, I'm taking a nap because I need some rest.
Right.
Like, I need some self-care today.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one too.
I was going to ask you a question about Black wealth. I think that is something that we should definitely talk about. Like, I'm Black. My husband is Trinidadian. He's like of Indian descent, but he doesn't count. He's Black too.
Right.
But just, I love the way that like your name is Black, Married, and Debt-Free. And I was just wondering, like, what is your message for the Black community? Like, what would you like to see happen as far as like with the wealth and finance in the Black community?
Yeah, so I think we were thinking of a name and we struggled with that, but I don't know. It's just, we're Black. We're like, no, we Black. You can't hide that. We're married and we're debt free. And for me, those were all three very strong positive affirmations. Every single one. And Marcus and I, we're ordinary folks, and we've been able to accomplish what some folks would consider to be a lot. And if not to sound cliche, but if we can do it, you can do it. You most definitely can do it. I was sitting in a WIC office, a few years ago. So, so we're just hoping to just change the narrative and to really highlight the Black family. We need our families to stay together. That's a part of building wealth. It's hard to build it by yourself. You need someone, you need a companion, you need a spouse. And we're just hoping to just be another voice. And we know that there are, other platforms and there's still a lot of work to be done. So we just want to just put positive knowledge out there and to share our story and hopes that it encourages someone.
Yeah, and the exciting thing for me, Deidre, is finding people like yourself.
Yes.
Just since we've been kind of in this space, like we started this organically. Like, I literally had no idea that there were other
people,
millennial African Americans that talk about money. I thought
we thought we were the first
one. Like, how dumb is that, right? But learning, finding yourself, pennies to wealth, rich and regular, our rich journey, his and hers.
Money,
I mean, there's so many like really inspiring stories that we just want to add to that.
Yes.
If we get more people like ourselves, yourself, then we really will change the narrative. And that's the goal. And inspire. Inspire those who are like, we just got married. Look at this couple, or we just want to inspire. I think that's the thing. And Shire came up with that name, and like she said, they're just positive affirmations,
Absolutely.
Black, married, and debt free. So, but I mean, that was like the best thing for us.
I actually heard y'all's podcast. I heard y'all on His and Her Money's podcast. And I was like, oh my goodness. And then I found y'all on Instagram, and I was like, follow.
You were on there as well. Your story was on there as well.
I just feel like for the Black community, like if we would see more positive images of, Black families doing amazing things, aside from like, 2 Chainz and all that, like Cardi B and all this kind of stuff. I mean, no hate or anything like that, but just to show people that you don't have to do all that to be successful, and to show what success really looks like and what it really means to be rich, and I don't know, just empower and uplift and educate. I feel like we don't have enough financial literacy going on.
Right.
So,
yeah,
right.
That's good. Hopefully, our kids' generation will grow up seeing this, and this will be more normal.
Right.
Like you were saying earlier, our parents' generation, they were they came up in an era of survival. It wasn't an era of invest in all this. They wanted to make it stay out of debt and make it through. And that's kind of we're coming out of that. I feel like this generation, our generation, is coming out of that. It was like, well, there might be something better than just doing good. Let's excel. So hopefully our kids, it's just going to be normal to our children's generation.
Yeah. Right. And it's kind of funny because I know I see a lot of posts sometimes on Instagram where people are kind of like resentful towards their parents about not teaching them about money. And I'm like, my parents were trying to survive. Like, no one taught them. So should they be mad at their parents, my grandparents, for not teaching them? I don't think so. And I just feel like with, technology, the internet, podcast, there's so much wealth and a wealth of knowledge out there. You just have to tap into. You have to go look for it. And so, I just thought that was interesting when you were talking about, your parents, our parents, and how things have changed. So I can only imagine how our children are going to grow up.
Future looks bright.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. The generation, like generational wealth, that's what I'm all about right now. Yeah. Not just for me, not wealth for just me and my kids, but for their kids and their kids.
Right.
Thank you for having us. Thank you for, wanting to sit down with us and talk with us. This is cool.
You. Absolutely. This has been so fun. We have to do this more often.
Absolutely.
I mean, money nerds uniting, talking about, I'm so passionate about all this stuff. Like, I love talking about this stuff.
Yes. So Deidre, we thank you for your time. Thank you for all of the great content and all of the positivity that you bring to the world. And can you share where people might be able to find you?
Absolutely. So, and thank you so very much for having me. And I just appreciate y'all so much. All of your feed, your posts, your positivity, all the energy, your creativity, I absolutely love it. And it's so motivating and inspirational. So you can find me on Instagram at Slay This Debt. That's my handle. And also on YouTube. My YouTube channel is Slay This Debt as well. And I just talk about frugal living, getting out of debt, and we're documenting our journey towards financial independence. And so for my viewers, where can they find you?
Well, you can find us on YouTube. You can just type in Black Married and Debt Free, or you can find us on Instagram at BlackMarriedDebtFree. And we also have a Facebook, which is Black Married Debt Free on Facebook as well. So, well, thanks, Deidre. We appreciate it. Thank you for sitting down with us.
So we hope you guys enjoyed that podcast episode. We hope that we said something that you can take away and apply. We are here to inform and to inspire. So do us a huge favor and rate this particular podcast on whatever platform you're streaming this. Rate this 5 stars, write great reviews. Anything that you can do to help us, we really, truly appreciate it. All right? So for Black Married and Debt Free, this is Marcus Murray signing off. Until next time. All right? I'll let you guys later. Peace.